So welcome to Miss Rachel YouTube channel once again. So in this video we are going to compare life in America and life in Africa since you've lived in both continents.
Okay.
Right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
So let's compare culture in America and culture in Africa.
Right, yeah. The culture is different because I think especially for Black Americans, there's not a strong culture. You know, there's not a defined culture in America. So in Africa, you have different cultures. You know, you have different tribes. You have, you go back to the village. But in America, they don't have a strong culture. So the Black community has kind of created a sort of culture, but it doesn't have a long history.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a few things, but it's a little bit different. So I think the cool thing about Africa is that there is a strong culture here. But in America, nah, not really.
Okay. And since you have experienced your culture in America, what do you think of our culture? Because it's different version of culture.
Yeah, that's the thing. Black Americans want to see the culture here in Africa. You know, they want to know about it and learn about it. So like the thing I love about the African culture is that it has a history behind it. You know, there's traditions that they do. There's things they do a certain way, and it's really good. But some traditions are not so good, but most of the traditions are okay. The dowry one, I'm not the biggest fan of this one, but other traditions are very good, and it's really good that they have that history, you know.
Okay. Since now you're living in Kenya and we have different tribes, how many tribes have you experienced?
How many tribes?
Yeah.
Oh, I've met someone from many different tribes, but I think the tribe that I experienced the most has to be the Luya tribe.
Okay. The Luya tribe.
Yeah.
What shocked you in Luya tribe?
Oh man, everything. I mean, just going to the village and seeing how they get the water. You know, they have to walk over it to the place where the water spring, right? Or just the chickens, and that they actually kill the chicken. You know, and then you eat the chicken just like that. And like there's just so many different traditions that are extremely surprising to me. You know, in the village.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's compare people in America and people in Africa, how you have experienced them.
Yeah, I think that's hard because I feel like it depends on what country you live in. So, okay, we'll say this though. In Kenya, I think the people are kind, you know, to foreigners. So if you're a foreigner, people want to talk to you. People want to get to know you. You know, people want to hang out with you, be your friend. Maybe not all the time for the right reasons. Maybe sometimes they just want your money, right? But for the most part, though, you can really connect to people in Kenya. It's so easy, especially if you're in Mombasa. If you're in certain areas in Kenya, you can really connect with people. Yeah. But in America, maybe it's a little bit more difficult to connect with people unless you're part of a group, organization or something like that, or school, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the poverty in America and poverty in Africa.
Yeah. The poverty in America is not so bad as it is in Africa.
What is it considered being poor in America? How would you become poor in America?
If you have a car in America, but you're living in the car, you're poor.
So people live in
So even if you have a car in the United States, you can still be considered poor. So but that's different, right? In Kenya, if you have a car, you're rich. You have money, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter what kind of car, as long as you have one, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the big things. But one of the things about America is that you can get help if you're poor. If you live in some sort of poverty, the government can assist you.
Okay.
But in Kenya, I don't know if it's so easily accessible help. So I think that's the difference between the two. And also the poverty in Kenya, they have one of the, I think it's the biggest slum in Africa, Kibera, right?
Kibera, yeah.
Yeah. So
in America, you don't have slums?
We don't have slums, no. You know, we have some areas that are a little bit rougher than other areas, but they're not like the slums. The slums is a whole different beast. You know, we've been there and you're walking over trash. People don't have running water. It's not so good there, you know. So we did a donation there at the Foundation of Youth. It's an organization where we can donate, and we donated to them.
And I would love to ask, why people live in their car? Can they don't have maybe the ancestral homes or like that? Why?
Yeah, that's another thing, right? So sometimes in the United States, there's not a strong community. In Africa, you can just go to your mom's house You can go to your cousin's house. You can get some help from people, right? From someone that you know. But in America, there's not such a strong social bond between people. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the big issues in the United States.
Ancestral, maybe homes and lands.
No. That's another big problem, you know. So there's no ancestral homes. There's not a lot of wealth within the black community, and be specific, yeah.
Because here, if you're not working, or maybe you don't have work, and live in the village, without
right.
doing anything.
Yeah, you don't have to be in Nairobi. You can just go back to the village, right?
I see the difference. Weather and climate.
Yeah, the weather is nice here in Kenya, right? But it also kind of depends on where you're at, right? So if you're in Mombasa, you have this, it's very hot, a lot of heat in Mombasa. So we were just there and it was just too hot for us sometimes. But you know, in Kenya, in Nairobi, the weather is cooler, you know, but sometimes it can be a little too cold depending on the season. So, but I think America is similar though in the same way though. So it depends. If you're in California, Vegas is seasonal,
Okay. And talk about the police, how you've experienced both them in both countries.
If you talk to a lot of people who have traveled to Tanzania, especially the black community, one of the main reasons that they came to Tanzania is because of police brutality. So they hear about Trayvon Martin. Maybe some of the black Americans know about this. You know, about some people being shot and killed when, you know, maybe they shouldn't have been, right? So, and then I have to say this, sometimes they can exaggerate as well, you know, some of these too, the black community. But there's also, some of it is real and it's true, you know.
So there's a lot of black community who are
yes, yeah. And that's why I wanted to originally go there at first, right? So a lot of them would come over to Tanzania. So, and for that reason, you know, because they feel safer here. But the officers here in Kenya, they don't really bother you. You know, in Tanzania, they don't really bother you too much unless you're actually at the immigration. So only at the immigration office is where they're going to probably ask for a bribe or something if they're going to try to look for an issue. Yeah, there's also that issue, right? But for the most part, you're not going to get into any, no racial trouble when it comes to the police in Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Let's talk about the health system both in America and in Africa.
You know, I think for our child in Africa, it wasn't so costly, you know, to have her here. So in America, it would have cost a lot, and it then also depends on what insurance you're on. But in Africa, it's cheap, you know, to get her health checkups and to take her to the hospital for anything that she might need, get medicine. Like, this stuff doesn't cost so much money here in Africa, which is one of the reasons why I decided to have our child in Africa and not the US. To be honest with you, if we were in the US, I don't know if I would even have a child, to be honest with you. Absolutely. So I think Africa is a big reason to why I actually had a child. Yeah.
I see why we did it.
Yeah, interesting, right?
Okay, talk about the opportunities.
Yeah. Okay, I'll say this. So I think for Africa, there's the opportunity for black Americans and foreigners, any foreigners, to open a business here. You know, so if you go to Uganda, if you go to Tanzania, I think you have better opportunities. Maybe certain areas within Kenya, maybe not Nairobi, but you have better opportunities to open a business, you know, and make profit. But I think if you're looking for a job, you know, I don't think this is the place if you're a foreigner to find a job, right? I think you're better off finding work from the US or maybe online and then coming here and kind of living off of USD. So I think that might be better. So I don't think there's so many opportunities for working in Kenya. But, you know, there are some, but not many. You know, maybe with the embassy.
How about America?
Yeah, with America, there's a lot of opportunities. Maybe too many, I would say. You know, there's even McDonald's. They don't have that in Kenya, but McDonald's, you know, they're even in some areas, they're even raising the minimum wage so you can work there because they don't have enough workers. You know, so there's a lot of jobs doing that. So in America, there's lots and lots of opportunities to work. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
And the mode of transport, maybe the difference you've seen.
Yeah. When I first came to Kenya, that was the thing that surprised me the most, was the transportation and how crazy it was, how chaotic it was.
How is
You know, because for number one, you know, when you first come here, you're gonna hear horns. Everyone's beeping their horns, right? In America, people don't blow their horns so much. You know, if you blow your horn at someone, those are like fighting words in the U.S. Like someone might get out the car and fight you. You know, it's different. In Kenya, it's different though. You blow your horn for everything. If someone, right? If there's a, you know, anything, right? So I think that's one of the things. There's so many noises, so many sounds. You know, after you're done with transportation, like when you're done with transportation, you go into the home or something, like you're kind of tired.
Yeah.
You know, like just traveling to places wears you out in Kenya a little bit, but it's also exciting.
Okay.
You know.
How about the matatu culture?
Yeah,
Have you experienced
I love that. Yeah. Most Americans that come here love the matatus, just because they draw a lot of American culture, especially Black American culture, are on the buses.
Okay.
So I always see my favorite rapper Ludacris on the matatus. You even see our Vice President Kamala Harris on the matatus. You see all sorts of a lot of Black American history on the matatus.
Yeah.
So that kind of shows that Kenya kind of is influenced by that a little bit, which, I mean, you can see it as a good thing or a bad thing, however you want to see it. But so that's one thing. But the matatus is like an easy way of transporting from one place to the next, right? It's very cheap, and you can get around wherever you want to. And it's a little slow at times, a little scary at times, right? Especially in Mombasa, right? I always compare it to Harry Potter. I don't know if you've seen Harry Potter. The third movie, there's a bus in the third movie, and the guy is driving very crazy, and he's just moving everywhere and almost hitting cars. That's the matatus in Mombasa. So you know,
Have you experienced the matatus in Nairobi?
in Nairobi, for personal, I don't think I have. No,
Should experience matatus
we need to. We need to, right? Yeah. Now that I have the.
Crazy. Mombasa.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I have to try it, or maybe I shouldn't try it, right? So yeah. But they also have tuk-tuks, right?
Yeah.
The little 3-wheel cars, right?
Yeah.
That they have in mostly Mombasa, but it's here too. And I like those too. I like those the most, maybe, because you can get around quickly. And
in America, what do you use?
in America, most people have their own vehicles. So most people, yeah. So everyone in my family had their own car. I had my first car at 16. So it's not, yeah, I have like 3 or 4 of them now. So
different.
yeah, it's very different, right? So it's not, having a car is not such a big deal, yeah, in the U.S. Yeah. But they have some buses in the U.S. and trains depending on where you're at. You can use some of those, but it's not like here though.
It's more maybe
Calm, no music. Like in Mombasa, they have a lot of loud rap, hip hop music playing in the background. U.S. no. Yeah.
Talk about the food.
Yeah, the food is different. So I think most Americans, most foreigners that come here love the chapatis.
Chapati.
Yeah, chapati is most people's favorite. You know, most of the foreigners I talk to love that.
It's easy to adapt.
Yeah.
Chapatis.
To me, they taste like bland pancakes, you know, in the U.S. or a knockoff brand, and I think that they're disgusting. But I think most people like them though. So I think chapatis is a good food to try. My favorite personally is ugali, which is what we had earlier, right?
I think you can also talk about here we are more organic.
Yes, yeah. So one of the cool things about Africa in general, and especially East Africa, is that you guys have organic food, right? So not only that you have organic food, you know, but the food is also cheap.
Yeah.
So in the U.S., this organic food is difficult to find, you know, and it's more expensive than what you would have in Kenya, right, or East Africa. But unfortunately, some things are changing in Kenya when it comes to organic food with the new leadership. And in West Africa, they do have problems with organic food and using chemicals as well. But for the most part, in East Africa, it's more organic for now. So hopefully, people and environmentalists can fight to keep that.
I hear in America, organic food is expensive, but here junk food is more expensive. expensive than organic food. Is it true?
In Kenya, junk food is more expensive. Yeah, absolutely.
Expensive.
Yeah, and I have
America, organic food is more expensive.
Yes, you're right. That's right. That's right. And that's backwards, right? Our system should be more like yours in Kenya, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the benefit here in Kenya is that you'll be able to eat more organic food, eat more clean food. I feel healthier here in Kenya.
Yeah.
I was a little beefy when I came here to Kenya, and I lost some weight, and was able to work out and eat a lot better. So yeah, absolutely.
About the what? The language.
Yeah.
Barrier.
Yeah. Kenya is a soft landing, I always say, for foreigners. So if you want to come to Kenya, if you want to come to Africa, come to Kenya, because people speak English here. You can get around with just knowing English. Before I came to Kenya, I studied the language of Swahili. And when I came to Kenya, I realized everybody was speaking English. So I didn't need it so much, right? But maybe if you're inside certain areas like villages or areas outside of Nairobi, you might need some Swahili. But for the most part, English is common, right? Yeah. But it's different. If you go to Tanzania, you're going to be speaking a lot more Swahili. So that's where I learned most of my Swahili from. Yeah.
In America?
In the U.S., there's only one language, is English. So everyone is speaking English. But the cool thing about America is there's so many different people there.
Yeah.
So you hear a bunch of different accents.
So in America, the difference is accent.
There's accents.
But here, it's Swahili and English.
Yeah, that's right. That's also
Mother tongue.
Yes, the mother tongue, right? You guys have your own tribal languages, right?
Yeah.
Besides Swahili, a lot of people don't know this actually. Besides Swahili in Kenya, you guys speak a tribal language. So the Luya tribes will speak their own language, right?
Luya tribe.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, we don't have that in the U.S. So that's another difference. Yeah, absolutely. And that's around the world too. It's not just Kenya and Africa too. Just U.S.
Talk about racism in America and Africa.
Yeah.
How have you experienced it?
This is another big reason why people come to Black Americans come to Africa is to get away from racism. So they feel like there's a lot of racism. So if maybe the police officer might pull you over just because you're Black, or maybe they'll feel like, let me give an example. So maybe a Black person has like a hoodie on and they have a hood on and they go into a gas station. The gas station attendant will probably be watching you. He'll be keeping his eye, because there's a stereotype that Black people steal. Black. So he'll be watching you to make sure that you haven't stolen anything. Or maybe if something was stolen, the first person they might turn to
is a Black person.
That's right. Is the Black person other than anyone else. Or the minority. It could be an Indian person. It could be anyone that's not, white. Yeah. So there's that type of racism.
And here in Africa?
It's different.
How have you experienced it?
So when you come to Africa, you don't feel that, racism. You don't feel, for me personally, when you come to Africa, everyone looks like you, so that, in the back of your mind, a lot of Black people have to remember I'm Black, in the back of their mind. Like when they go to the store, they have to remember, I'm a Black person. I have to do this. I have to behave a certain way, right?
And here you don't. Remember
you don't. You forget that you're Black. Like, oh, I'm Black. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I see that.
Yeah, and I've heard this too from Africans that came to America. They they said you can really feel your Blackness when you're in America. So that it happens. Yeah.
Ever experienced racism, maybe growing up?
Racism. I think I've felt covert racism. So this is racism that's not so direct. This is indirect racism. So maybe someone might say something to you that might be a little racist, but I can't remember, I can't pinpoint an exact moment, but other Africans, face serious racism and have had serious problems, like with the police. Yeah.
And here, ever experienced maybe anything to do with discrimination or racism?
Not really, but it can happen, unfortunately, having dreadlocks for one. If you have dreadlocks.
Yeah, police. Police with dreadlocks a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I was riding my bike one day here in Kenya, and I smelled weed in the air, right? So I'm just riding my bike, and there's some officers. They're walking up the street, up the sidewalk, and they tell me to come here, right? And I'm wondering, what do they want me for? So I come over there, and then they're wanting to check everything, and I'm like, I'm getting a little aggressive, but you shouldn't do that. You should just comply. But so anyway, they tell me that they're looking for someone who's smoking weed.
Okay.
Yeah, and they think it's me, and I'm like, well, let's pull over these people that's walking past me. What about all these other people, But they're pulling me over, So I think maybe that's type of discrimination sometimes.
That's what that dreadlocks did.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe they were messy too at the time, so maybe that's why. I don't know.
Okay. Talk about dating and women in America, in Africa.
Yeah, I think that's another reason a lot of Black Americans come to Africa too. So I don't know, maybe you've heard about the passport movement, right? Passport bros.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is when a lot of Black Americans are coming over to South America, to Asia, to some African countries, and they're finding these foreign women who are able to be more submissive, kind, maybe nicer. In America, the women might be more aggressive sometimes.
Why do you think they're aggressive? And you both Black Americans. Why do you think they're aggressive?
I think it comes.
Type of women.
Yeah. I think kind of we talked about it a little bit. I think it might stem. Some psychologists will say it stems back to slavery. But I don't know. It could be from many things. A lot of traumatization from their past. A lot of these Black women don't have a father in their life. So sometimes they struggle with that. Some of them grow up not so rich. Or maybe they don't know the proper way to communicate. So a lot of them have these issues, while a lot of the white people usually grow up in nice homes, So I think that's one of the
I see it.
One of the problems, And African women, they kind of grow up with their family. They learn how to be submissive, be kind, be nice. Cook. They all know how to cook. I never met an African woman who can't cook. Even if it's not good, they can at least cook something, right? So they, in America, some of the American women I dated can't cook. They don't know how to cook food, right?
Who cooks for them or who cooks for you?
Yeah, the restaurant cooks for us in America. So we just have to go to the restaurant and just buy the food from there, right? Or maybe it's pre-made. Yeah, or frozen foods, right? You just put it in the fridge and then you can heat it up later or something like that. Yeah, but which is not so common here.
Yeah, it's not common here.
Yeah.
Cook in their home.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the big differences.
Let's talk about politics in the US and Africa. What do you think? I know you've experienced, or maybe you've watched politics from TVs.
Politics kind of coincide with safety. Right? So especially in Africa.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will say they have issues with, they wonder about the safety issues because of the politics in Africa, right? So I think Kenya is kind of calmed down more now, right?
Yeah.
So you don't see so much violence, but there was a little bit, with Raila Odinga and Ruto, right?
Tension.
Yeah, right? There's some tension there, right? So I think in America, you don't have that tension so much. People are not going to hurt you over politics usually, Sometimes it happens, but it's more of a rare thing, While in Kenya, politics is like really important. Like people are gonna fight you, but it's especially in the past, but now it's kind of calmed down. So it's not so much like that anymore, right? Would you agree with me on that one?
Yeah. Every 5 years. Is it every 5 years? Every 10 years. We have to be prepared. Now we are going.
Right. Yeah. Right. You get really prepared, right?
I see the difference.
Right. Yeah. But another difference is, I think politics is kind of tribal. It used to be maybe in Kenya, right?
It is tribal.
Yeah. Maybe less. Would you feel like it's maybe a little less now?
I think that. So, yeah. And in America, you don't have.
You don't have tribes, but maybe it depends on. So maybe we have different parties, right? You guys do too, but it's not. There's no tribal influence, But I guess you can say like this: like maybe Black people are mostly going to go for the Democrat. the Joe Bidens. And maybe white people are mostly going to go for the Trumps, the Republicans.
That's your difference now.
Yes, that's our difference. And it's also changing though.
Yeah. Okay. So what else do you think we need to say to us?
I think it's very important. This might be controversial. So this is the last thing that we're saying. Okay. I think it might be a little controversial, but I think that Black Americans should come into Africa.
Yeah.
And I think
Why should they come to Africa?
For everything I just said today, right? And more, right? Just for the easy, stress-free life, the weather, the culture, the women, right? And I think that they should find a woman here, or find an African king or African queen here in Africa. And then they should have babies, because they need to bridge the gap between America and Africa. So with our child, she's Kenyan and American. Kenya, needs help from America sometimes, right? America needs help from Kenya, the blacks I'm talking about in these areas. So with our child, she has access to both countries, right? She can travel back and forth and without having any issues. So we need more of that and more connection between the blacks in America and the blacks in Africa.
Okay. Yeah. And for people who will be watching this video now, for Black Americans, you want to start to move, or they want to move to Africa to experience or maybe to adventure, talk to them.
I think that you can email me at mumakz@gmail.com, right? You can visit our YouTube channel, USA Meets Kenya, right? And then you can watch YouTube videos. There's plenty of other YouTubers out there who are documenting their experiences in Africa, in Kenya, and Tanzania, and West Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, right? So I feel like there's so many opportunities, for you to view this continent, right? And to understand it. So that's what I have to say to them. I say, come over.
Connect to their roots.
Come, brothers and sisters, come.
Come back to Africa.
Africans love you and they want you.
So it was nice hosting you here on this channel.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Tell people to subscribe to Miss Rachel and come to join your channel.
Yes, guys, please subscribe to Miss Rachel. She is amazing. And subscribe to our channel, USA Meets Kenya. It'd be much appreciated.
Cheers. Peace out.
Thank you.